Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing again. Believing a power greater than what you are going through. When you don't know what to do, keep breathing.
That's right. When you don't know what to do, just keep on breathing. From the city of Los Angeles from the City of Angels in Los Angeles. Welcome to all my listeners out there in Radio Land. I'm Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver at caregiverdave.com, along with my beautiful and lovely former mayor of a California beach town and best-selling author, Debbie Peterson. And we're coming to you live and on demand 24/7 on numerous syndicated radio and podcast networks like iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Spreaker, SoundCloud. The list goes on and on. In fact, we are proud to be voted #1 caregiver podcast of the top 50 on Player FM, and #2 on FeedSpot, and #2 on podcast, the #2 podcast on caringvillage.com. And we have an especially exciting show planned for you today. Sherrell Mims is president and founder of Global Caregivers Network, LLC, and best-selling author of A Caregiver's Expression Anthology, Mother's Day Edition, Volume 1. But before we get started, I want to take this moment and thank my last week's guest, Shamika Baptist. She's the author and inspirational speaker behind The Strength Within. And she's a young woman that grew up in the foster care system, and she shares her story of resilience and hopes of providing others the courage to persevere in life, regardless of the trials or tribulations you're facing. And just a reminder, you can watch or listen to that interview and all our interviews on our membership website, caregiverdave.com, or any of the other 26 global audio and video networks that I mentioned earlier. All right, enough of that. Sherrell, so great to have you on the Caregiver Dave show.
Thank you, Dave. Debbie. Dave and Debbie, I never forget it. D&D.
D&D, that's what they called us on the...
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And the honor is ours. Why don't you tell us, I like to ask my guests, just who is Sherrell Mims and why was she placed on this earth?
Sherrell D. Mims was placed on this earth to be a caregiver. I discovered who I am and what I am to do while I'm here on earth. I am the queen of empowering caregivers. I inspire them, I uplift them, I encourage them to be the best caregiver ever by doing what? #1, taking care of yourself. Self-care is a #1 priority. We all understand that. However, we may all not do it. There's a difference. And so it's always great things that we need to do in life, right, as a caregiver, and always take care of ourselves first. And I am the president, founder, and CEO of Global Caregivers Network, LLC, and Global Caregiver Speakers. What is the Speakers in the network about? The network is about bringing in wonderful caregivers like Caregiver Dave and all those others, right? Bring them into the network, and we all collaborate and do things together. And then the Caregiver Speakers platform is for caregivers to come in on our platform and share their caregiver stories, products, and services.
And I know you have an event coming up, don't you?
I sure do. We do.
We do, yes.
It's a we. It's not just me.
We'll talk about that in a moment. I want to know, how did you become a caregiver, and how did you become passionate enough to start the Caregivers Global Network and Speakers?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question, Dave. Well, let's go back. We're not going to go all the way back, but I have been a caregiver since the young age of 11.
Wow.
11. When my dad was at home, unfortunately, he had got discharged from working in the auto because he had a seizure due to alcohol, unfortunately. So I was taking care of him at the tender age of 11. Didn't know at the time, right, that I was going to be a nurse. Fast forward, registered nurse for over 20 plus years now. Didn't know it. All I know is I had a desire in my heart to help people.
Was your mother not around when that happened?
Excuse me?
Was your mother not around to care for him when that happened?
She was there as well, but we all did.
You were both helping?
As a family. Yes, as a family. I have other siblings, and we all just pitched in and helped my dad. You know, he would have alcohol-induced seizures. And so
Wow.
we would be around to protect him, take care of him, and make sure he took his medications and all these other things. And
And
that
how
was
long
way
did he
back then.
last?
My dad died at a young age. I think he was like 45, 46.
Yeah, that's
So,
young.
yeah, that was a young age. And so, with all of that being said, and there was other factors that played a part in it as well. But I think the number one factor probably was the alcohol-induced seizures.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was real life stories back then. I'm telling you, we all have a story to share. We
Yeah.
all are caregivers in one way or another.
Any
We are all
questions, Debbie, that you
Well,
want to
I'm
Sherrell?
curious, two
Sherrell?
things about taking care of yourself first. The first one is, how did you learn to do that? And the second one is, as you say, it's like eating your vegetables. We all know we should do it, but we don't. So how do we get ourselves to do it? So it's a two-part question.
Well, number one, you have to be disciplined, right? First of all, it has to be discipline that has to take place. We know this. We know that our parents have disciplined us when we was younger in the home, and we did some of the things and not some of the things. So number one is discipline. And then the other part of it is we have to understand, right, that in order to take care of someone else, we cannot negate the fact that we need to take care of ourselves first. I mean, this can go on and on and on talking about self-care and being aware of how we take care of ourselves. There are things that we can do to make sure that we are in self-care awareness. We have the activities of daily living, bathing, cooking, shopping. Well, I got to put shopping in there.
Yeah,
And
that
so
helped. It's funny. I was talking to someone recently who said that they never would have believed it. I think it was one of the guests we interviewed recently, Dave, but that their therapy, and it was a guy, his therapy was walking through the mall.
there you go. And that's wonderful. Isn't that peace? You don't have to buy anything. You're just walking through the mall. That is relaxation. It could have been things that was going on in his life, and that was a self-care awareness that he did, right? It's multiple things we can do. He walked through the mall. I might just take a walk around the corner. I may just take a book and sit up under a tree and read. I may just sit and just watch the water, right? Water is serenity. So whatever your self-care need is, prioritize it and do it. That's what I say. Prioritize it.
So when did you
Now,
start the Global Caregiving Network, and how many events have you done yet, and what are your vision for it? What do you hope it will become?
Absolutely. So first of all, the Global Caregivers Network, LLC, it was established in June of 2020, 2021, I believe. From there, that was a network. That's an online network where the caregivers come in, they can talk, I'm getting ready to set it up where they can start, we're going to have a chat room where you can actually come in and start chatting, sitting, and talking about activities of daily living. Then number two, what came from the Global Caregivers Network, LLC, was the Global Caregiver Speakers. This platform was established in December, on Christmas Day, December 25th, 2021. And so with all of that being done, the caregivers are coming out, they're signing up, they're sharing their stories, their products, and their services. All of this came about. Why? I had an urgency in my spirit. I was unctioned to do this, not just from what happened with my father, but because I've been a nurse for over X amount of years. This is my passion. This is what I do. This is what I love to do. And so it only behooved me to make a platform, and the Holy Spirit unctioned me in to do this, where I can give a caregivers a voice to speak, right? And this is just the beginning. So you asked the question, Dave, what do I want to come out of this? I want caregivers to not be ashamed of their story, number one. Do not mute your story. Come share your story. This is the platform to do it. The Global Caregiver Speakers. Now, this is virtual right now. For the future, Dave and Debbie, D&D, we are moving forward. We are going live in the communities, and we're going to set a platform up where they can come to the live stage and share their caregiver story. And so I'm looking forward to this. It's already going to the #1 global caregiver speakers platform for caregivers, but there's so much more. We're not even at the tip of the iceberg yet. So we
Yeah.
have been established so far, Dave, for 2 years and moving forward.
What you're doing, what you're attempting to do is so hard. Many have tried and failed, and yet your last virtual event, you've had several hundred show up, right? That is not easy.
Yeah, they did. They showed up. I'll be in search for speakers. I go here, there, and different places to find the speakers. It's not really hard. It's just that they want to share their story, and then some of them actually get that syndrome, imposter syndrome, at the last minute.
Who am I? Who am I that anybody would want to hear what I have to say?
Yes, and so that's why I am the empowerment queen. I listen. I encourage them to share your story. Someone needs to hear your story. Someone needs to see your face. Someone needs to read your book, right? It's not for everyone, but it is for someone, right? Someone needs to hear your story. And so I just keep it going.
You have an audience of burned out caregivers who have a story. So what would you tell these caregivers who don't think they have a story, and how would you encourage them to contact you and, tell their story?
Well, one thing they will have to do, don't be afraid. Listen, fret not. Fret not. Do not be afraid. Even when it just seems like you shouldn't be telling your story, come on, connect with me. This is the way to do it. Just like we're doing this right here on this podcast, this is how we set up the virtual event. You just come and share your story, your products, and your services. And you don't know who in the audience is waiting to hear from you. And I always say, listen, caregiver voice matters. There's a lot of male caregivers, and I'm talking to my male caregivers, because Dave, you are a caregiver to your wife for years. And you're coming to the stage, you're sharing your podcast, you are doing things. Man, do not be afraid. Come and share your story. We know as women, we're just nurturers. We're nurturer. We take care of the family. We do this, thus, and so. But man, you need to share your caregiving story. Dave is going to be on our wonderful National Family Caregiver Conference this November. And I don't know, it's just hard to get men to come up, Dave. What do you think?
Well, they're the minority, 70%, 75% of caregivers are women. And the reluctant ones, the ones who no one else would do it, are the men. Many spousal caregivers, but men aren't as nurturing as women. They don't, of course, there's exceptions, but they don't typically have the same empathy and sympathy and patience that women have. So women make better caregivers. What do you think, Deb?
Well, I think it's really exciting. You're going to actually be at the National Family Caregiver Conference, Dave. Did I hear that right?
Yes, but it's virtual this year, but she wants to go, non-virtual in the future.
Well, Sherrell, I don't know if you know this, but Dave has spoken at NASDAQ and all over the country. He is quite the speaker. So you've nabbed a really good one. And of course, his podcast and is known to millions. Is it millions now? Hundreds of thousands. So
who knows?
this is going to be a great conference. I think it'll be so encouraging.
Thank you so much, Deb. And I look forward to you all coming out, because I'm telling you, they have some wonderful stories to share. And everyone's story, like I said, is not for everyone, but it is for someone. Someone is going to relate to Dave and taking care of his wife as a spousal. Someone going to be able to relate to dementia, Alzheimer, taking care of your mom, taking care of your dad, taking care of your children, taking care of disabled family members and loved ones. And we're just talking about at home. We're not even talking about in the hospitals, clinics, long-term acute care facilities, right? A lot of these are professional healthcare and experts and family caregivers. So we look forward to y'all coming out. They're sending in their Eventbrite tickets. You have to register. They are coming in. I think I got over 50 people already registered for the Eventbrite, and they're still coming in because the speakers are still coming in. And so
Now,
I'm looking forward to
tell
it.
us about your book.
The wonderful book, For the Love of Caregiving. Isn't that a wonderful title?
Yes, it is.
Can you repeat that? I
Oh.
didn't even hear it properly. Tell us the title again.
Sure. For the Love of Caregiving. Where did that
Wonderful.
come from?
For
You
the
have
love
to
of
love
caregiving, yes.
for the love of caregiving. You have to love what you do.
And
I know
how
a
does
lot of
it
people.
relate to Mother's Day? That's in the title too.
Yeah, and that's a separate book, the one for Mother's Day, where I had those to take care of their mothers,
There are
caregivers
different
that take care of their
volumes.
mother. Yeah, to take care of their mother.
I
They
see.
came in for my volume one, but for the love of caregiving is those that have shared their story in whatever capacity they were taking care of someone. And so, yeah, all of these books are on Amazon. You can go look at them, you can download them, and you can also order. So next year, I'm taking off D&D, and I'm doing a book tour next year for the books to get out in the community, right? The different places and spaces in healthcare, hospitals, clinics, wherever. They're going to see that book. If I had to just leave one there and leave, that's what I'll do. Someone needs to read that book.
Well, you have a high
Amen.
vision, don't you?
I do. I really do, David. And you know what? It's all because of just being in the healthcare profession for so long, and I have seen so many things going on in the healthcare. It is only hence that I do something related to caregiving. It was only natural for me to do it.
Yeah.
And it's no struggle. The people come out, they speak. I was so glad when David said he'll come on board. We'll see what happens for next year when men decide to come on. I know they do be reluctant in some cases.
Yeah.
However, man, we need to hear your voice.
Amen.
I
I know
just met
Gary
her by
Barr.
accident. I was talking to Betty, and I don't even remember. I think she was going to be a guest or was a guest on my show. And she said, "Oh, you need to contact Sherrell." And I said, "Well, I don't know who she is." And so they hooked us up, you know.
Yes. And then I think it was Judy Amber and Debbie got with you. And so, yes, this is what I do. This is my
Yeah.
passion.
And you
And
didn't
it's
know
just,
me either.
I did not.
Yeah.
And this is this hit and miss that we be having too. We know there's a lot of caregivers, but we hit and miss people. But that's okay. We're all here for such a time.
We're
Everything is
both
about
famous in
timing.
our little tiny circles, you know.
Yes,
But the circles
absolutely.
are getting bigger.
They are getting bigger. And I'm looking forward, Dave, to us connecting with you and getting on one of your retreats, coming to one of your retreats. I am. I'm looking forward to that. And so whatever.
Oh, I can tell you, I went to Dave's first retreat and I was blown away by it. I wasn't going to do it. I did it at the last minute and I kind of resisted all the way, but I made myself do it. And I didn't know if I could afford it. I didn't have the time. And it changed my life. And so I would highly recommend those retreats. It's that same thing. Sometimes you just have to say yes.
Thank you, Dee. Thank you so much for saying that, Debbie, because you know what? We do have to say yes. And I've been talking about a retreat since the beginning of the inception of the Global Caregivers Network, because we need a retreat. We need to just get away. We need to just relax, right? No cares while we're there. We're all there to just love on one another and enjoy life. Enjoy life with everything that has happened. And we was all in that COVID, but I was in the COVID, right? I'm taking care of the patients. Oh my goodness, it was so horrific. I'm telling you, some of my colleagues, they just got out of the healthcare altogether. It was just so horrific when it first came in. And so they jumped ship. I think a lot of them went on disability, whatever the situation was. But guess what? I'm still here. I'm still here.
You know, and that you really reminded me, that is the beauty of the retreat, because at the retreat, all you do, you can be totally alone if you want to,
Sure.
or you can hang out with other people and get that blessing. And it is really a blessing. These wonderful people go, and you can also get waited on hand and foot. So you get taken care of. And as a caregiver, that never happens.
Yes.
So it is just, it feels like a gift from God to be able to do that.
It is. And just to take that time out, when Dave had mentioned it to me, I said, you know what? It's all about the timing, Dave. We're going to come on your retreat. It's all about the timing. So I accept
Sure is.
Yeah, it's definitely about the timing.
Well, what should we talk about now?
How do people get in contact with me? The wonderful people. You can always
how do
connect
people
with
get
me.
in contact with Sherrell?
How do they connect with Sherrell? Listen,
I'm glad you asked that question.
Go over to my Facebook page, baby. Facebook, right? Global Caregivers Network, Global Caregiver Speakers. They're both on Facebook. And you can go on LinkedIn. I'm getting my YouTube all together, uploading videos from all these different events that we're having. And listen, you can always call me 260-218-3377. I am a phone person. I do the social media, but I get back to the basic. And before all of this came about, there was that thing called the telephone.
Old school.
And so, yes, connect with me on the phone. And also, you got the email, Sherrell@globalcaregivers.net. That's my story.
I'm so glad I met you. I'm so glad you talked me into speaking at your virtual event. And I can't believe how fast this time has gone. Thank you so much, Sherrell, for coming on the show. And you already told us how listeners can reach you.
Yes.
Debbie, how can listeners reach you to find out more about what you do?
You can find me at mayordebbie.com. That's mayor as in mayor of the city, mayordebbie.com. And you can find my books on Amazon, The Happiest Corruption, Sleaze, Lies, and Suicide in a California Beach Town, or City Council 101. And then the newest one coming out is Local Impact, You Can Make a Difference.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
And remember, all our live shows become recorded pod and video casts on your favorite platforms. And just want to talk about my number one selling book, Secrets from the Hammock, coming, well, it's already out, actually, spreading wisdom all over the world. And it is available wherever books are sold. That's the easiest way to say it. I know Sherrell's books are available wherever books are sold, so are Debbie's. And also on my free membership website, caregiverdave.com, where you can also schedule a free 30-minute initial coaching call to talk about whatever you're struggling with. 30 minutes is all it takes to resolve a lot of problems in a caregiver's life. And don't forget my Caregiver Dave Facebook page. Have 34,000 caregivers participating, lots of tools, resources, advice, videos, this radio show, and much more. And did you know that if you click the like or follow button on whatever platform you're watching or listening to this show on, it helps us reach even more caregivers by improving Google's search engine algorithms. So a true heartfelt thanks to all my listeners out there all over the world for tuning in every Wednesday and making us the #1 caregiver radio show on the internet. So until next week, same time, same channel, may God richly bless you all. And thanks again for coming on the show.
Dave Nasani, the Caregiver's Caregiver, has just released his 6th book entitled It's My Life Too, Thrive to Stay Alive as a Caregiver. It was specifically written for caregivers who know they should be putting their needs first, but just don't know how. Dave is the sole caregiver to his wife, Charlene, since 1996. He knows firsthand what caregivers are going through, because he is one. He now speaks all across the country, offering caregivers his amazing caregiver support package. Even the airlines tell us that in the event of an emergency, to put your oxygen mask on first, before you help your child with their mask. They know that those who don't heed their advice often black out, thus becoming unable to help either themselves or their child. And caregivers are exactly the same way. It's My Life Too, Thrive and Stay Alive as a Caregiver will help caregivers who are neglecting their sleep, diet, and social life and learn to put their needs first. Pick up your copy today or buy one for your special caregiver. On sale everywhere and at caregiverdave.com.
We are a community of caregivers that understands and supports you wherever you are in your journey. We are a place to connect with other caregivers, but more importantly, a place to get practical, actionable help. There are lots of ways for you to get support. First of all, you can download our welcome pack. This will get you started on your Thrive journey. Next, you can ask and get answers to your questions by posting them here in our private Facebook groups. You can also get live online support by attending one of our live weekly Connect webinars. You can get practical, actionable advice by listening to our weekly podcast. You can hear and read other stories about other caregivers' experiences. Plus, add your own in our weekly Share Your Story forum, posted every Tuesday in the Facebook group. You can access essential resources and download practical Thrive Solutions packs, all of which are geared to help you thrive as a caregiver. You get lifetime access to all of our resources. Again, we're here to support you and help you thrive and to enjoy your life as a caregiver. And remember, this is a place to get hope, not just cope.
Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing.